Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Brooke's shocking hypocrisy, RAVEALED, bold and the beautiful December 18 drama uncovered. Brooke just landed herself in more hot water with the Forresters. She made some hypocritical moves on the Wednesday, December 18 episode of The Bold and the Beautiful. She's moving more like a snake than a person with integrity. You're fired. Electra, Lania Grace, was called into the office. She had no idea what trouble she was in. Brooke, Catherine Kelly Lang, and Katie Heather Tom informed her that she was terminated. Electra had to pack up her things and go. This first move reveals Brooke's hypocrisy. Katie and Brooke fired Electra on the spot with no explanation. Steffi, Jacqueline McKinswood, did the same with Hope, Annika Noel. However, Brooke felt that Steffi owed her daughter an explanation. Steffi argued that Hope was waiting around for her husband in lingerie. It took Hope forever to explain why she was dressed like that. Yet Brooke and Katie don't feel that Electra owes them an explanation. The photos are fake, and someone nefarious is behind them. Learn more about Remy's shadiness on B&B. Strike 2. That's not the only hypocritical moment. At the end of Wednesday's episode, Brooke informed Carter, Lawrence St. Victor, and Hope about Electra's firing. Interestingly enough, they were too cool about it. The conversation changed. They told Brooke that they had a new CEO in mind. Brooke hoped it would be someone outside of the company. Carter told her that she would be the perfect person to move Forrester Creations in the next direction. He's also aware that Brooke is sensitive about this takeover situation. She was responsible for the brand's success. After all, she created the Belief formula and Brooke's bedroom line. Remember when Brooke was a successful CEO for Forrester? However, she claims that Ridge, Thorsten Kaye, was always her destiny. She's not the type of woman who would go against the so-called love of her life, or would she? In the December 18 episode of The Bold and the Beautiful, the viewers were treated to an unforgettable moment that took the drama of Brooke Logan to a whole new level. As longtime fans know, Brooke has always been a central figure in the show, embodying both strength and vulnerability, love and heartbreak. But this particular episode, filled with tension and revelations, unveiled the deep hypocrisy that has simmered under the surface of her character for years. The dramatic twists that unfolded not only shocked her family, but also her fans, leaving them questioning the integrity of the iconic Logan matriarch. Brooke's life has always been defined by her complicated relationships with men, but it's her moral compass, often questioned, that became the focal point on December 18. The episode served as the catalyst for exposing the stark contrast between Brooke's actions and the principles she has long touted. It was a moment of reckoning, where the audience saw Brooke's double standards in full light, forcing her to confront not just her actions, but the contradictions that have defined her legacy on the show. The scene that sparked it all. The episode began with Brooke caught in yet another confrontation, this time with her sister Katie. The tension between the Logan sisters has always been palpable, but this particular clash was like no other. The stakes were higher, the emotions more intense, and Brooke found herself on the defensive. Katie, ever the voice of reason, began to peel back the layers of hypocrisy that had enveloped Brooke's recent decisions. "How can you look me in the eye and pretend you're the moral compass for this family?" Katie fired at Brooke, her voice trembling with frustration. "You've been lecturing me for years about what's right, but now you're the one making the same mistakes over and over again." Brooke, caught off guard by Katie's bluntness, opened her mouth to respond, but found herself stumbling over her words. This was not just a typical sibling argument. It was a truth bomb, one that threatened to unravel the delicate facade that Brooke had worked so hard to maintain. A lifetime of double standards. Throughout The Bold and the Beautiful, Brooke's character has been built on a foundation of passionate love, family loyalty, and often indiscriminate romantic entanglements. But it's in the latter where Brooke's hypocrisy has most glaringly surfaced. Over the years, she has been involved in love triangles, secret affairs, and turbulent relationships, often preaching about the sanctity of love, while engaging in behaviors that directly contradict her preachings. For years, Brooke had been quick to condemn her sister Katie for her involvement with Bill Spencer, despite the fact that Brooke herself had been romantically involved with Bill in the past. Her criticism of Katie's choices seemed hypocritical when her own romantic history was filled with similar, or worse, transgressions. Brooke had shown a pattern of being overly judgmental of others, while secretly harboring her own faults. In particular, her relationships with Ridge Forrester and Bill Spencer had been the subject of many heated debates within the Forrester family. Brooke's ability to forgive herself for her infidelities, while holding others to a much higher standard, had left many viewers questioning her credibility. Why was it that Brooke could repeatedly betray those closest to her, yet still demand loyalty and forgiveness from others? Her critics, including her own family, had long accused her of using her beauty and charm to get away with things that others couldn't. And yet, despite her many failed relationships and mistakes, Brooke always managed to escape any real consequences for her actions. Her hypocrisy had always been a well-known trait, but on December 18, the episode pulled back the curtain, exposing the full extent of her contradictions. The turning point, confrontation with Ridge. The tension hit its peak when Ridge Forrester entered the scene. Ridge, who has always been at the heart of Brooke's complicated love life, was the person who had been the most affected by her actions. Despite their many years together, their relationship was constantly marked by Brooke's inability to remain faithful or loyal. Ridge had always been Brooke's anchor, but on this particular day, he was no longer willing to let her continue her self-serving pattern. "Brooke, you've got to be kidding me," Ridge said, disbelief in his voice. "How many times have you lectured me about right and wrong? Yet you've done the very thing you accuse others of doing. You've lied to me, to your family, and to yourself, and now you're acting like none of it matters." Brooke, feeling cornered, tried to justify her actions, but Ridge wasn't having it. This time, the floodgates of truth opened. Every lie, every inconsistency in Brooke's words and actions was exposed. Her betrayal of not just Ridge, but her entire family came to light in a way that could no longer be ignored. Ridge, who had always been understanding and forgiving of Brooke's faults, was finally fed up. His words were a wake-up call not just for Brooke, but for the audience who had long been conditioned to overlook her behavior. Brooke's reaction to Ridge's outburst was telling. Instead of defending herself with her usual charm or excuses, she faltered. For the first time in years, she was forced to reckon with her own actions, something she had avoided doing for much of her life. The painful truth was undeniable. Brooke had spent decades living in the shadow of her own double standards, and now the consequences were beginning to catch up with her. The family's betrayal. As if the confrontation with Ridge wasn't enough, the episode also brought a sense of betrayal from within her own family. For years, Brooke had held herself up as the moral pillar of the Logan clan, passing judgment on everyone around her. Yet, her behavior had begun to take its toll on her relationships, particularly with her sisters. Katie, who had always been the more reserved and thoughtful Logan's sister, had witnessed Brooke's hypocrisy firsthand. From the outside, it seemed that Brooke was incapable of seeing the damage her actions had caused. Katie, once the one who looked up to her older sister, was now the one calling her out. "You always talk about doing the right thing, about family loyalty," Katie said, her voice steady but filled with hurt. "But you've torn apart this family time and time again with your decisions. You hurt people, Brooke. You hurt me. And now you're acting like you're the one who's been wronged." The raw emotion in Katie's words hit Brooke like a ton of bricks. She was used to being the one in control of the situation, used to being the one to give advice. But in this moment, she was the one being judged, the one left facing the consequences of her actions. And for once, Brooke couldn't deflect the blame onto others. Her own hypocrisy was exposed, and there was no escaping it. The fallout. As the episode came to a close, Brooke found herself isolated and emotionally vulnerable. For the first time, she was forced to look at herself in the mirror and acknowledge the damage she had caused. Her relationships were in shambles, her reputation in tatters, and her moral high ground had crumbled beneath her feet. The woman who had once been seen as a beacon of hope and love now appeared as a deeply flawed individual, struggling to reconcile the person she wanted to be with the person she had become. The aftermath of the confrontation left viewers eagerly awaiting the fallout. How would Brooke rebuild the relationships she had torn apart? Would she be able to find redemption, or had her hypocrisy permanently altered her place within the Forrester family? It was clear that Brooke's journey was far from over, but the episode on December 18 had marked a significant turning point, a moment where the truth could no longer be ignored. Brooke's hypocrisy, once hidden beneath layers of charm and grace, was now exposed for all to see. And while the path forward was uncertain, one thing was clear: Brooke had finally been forced to face the consequences of her actions, and the aftermath would be anything but easy. In the end, the episode was a testament to the complexity of Brooke's character, a woman who had spent her life navigating love, betrayal, and family loyalty, only to discover that the hardest person to face might be herself.